In today's video, I wanted to talk about 10 practical ways to slow down. I wanted to make these as simplistic as possible, things that do not feel like a big hurdle to incorporate, things that you truly can start incorporating today and that provide more freedom and space rather than rules and obligations. So I'm just going to jump right into number one, which is to spend more time in nature. When I say that, you might be thinking, okay, cool, I'm not a super naturey person. Maybe you already are. That's amazing. I never really labeled myself as an outdoorsy person. Therefore, I didn't think that I would thrive outdoors because I didn't love camping or backpacking or extreme things like that. But I found that when I just sit outside and let the sunlight soak on my skin, the way it just heals my soul, and not only is it good physically but mentally, I find that no matter what is going on, I just need to get outside daily and make that such a priority, and everything else seems to just kind of fall in place from there. And there's so many studies on how that actually impacts us, and so I just encourage, in whatever capacity you can, to kind of think beyond the traditional ways we view being outside. Even if it's just on your daily commute, rolling the windows down, listening to the birds, going on a walk. I always try to eat lunch outside. Whatever it is you're doing, just try to do that outside more. So if you work from home, try to work outside. Even at the end of the night, my husband and I, when we put on a movie, we got a projector so that we can now do that outside. So it doesn't even have to be during daylight. Number two is high quality leisure. This is a concept I was introduced by Cal Newport in his book, Digital Minimalism, which is one of my all-time favorite books if you haven't read it. It's an absolute must. And high quality leisure is essentially just hobbies, activities that you do outside of work that are labeled as high quality, meaning they really allow you to be truly restored. And so when I explain this concept to people, I feel like the easiest way to think of it is, let's say there's something we do like watch TV, go on social media, scroll on our phones. A lot of times we are looking to be filled up or get dopamine quickly, but we're actually left feeling pretty empty. That would therefore be labeled as a low quality leisure activity. High quality leisure allows you to enter in, and even if you're doing something very physically demanding, you're actually left feeling more restored and recharged. And I think we all know what that feeling is like, where maybe it was just good hard work, or we got our hands dirty, or we broke a sweat, or maybe it was super chill and we just completely relaxed, but we leave feeling like we can breathe deeper and we feel refreshed. That would be high quality leisure. And so that is something that I try to fill my life up with. And so I have hobbies that I feel like are very high quality and are very specific to me and the things I love doing that I can genuinely look forward to. And something I love doing is just inviting people into my high quality leisure activities, saying I'm going surfing, I'm going on a hike, I want to play pickleball, whatever it is. I find that is a great way to make the most of my weekends, is filling it up by seeing people and connecting, and also getting to do something that's really restorative. Number three kind of goes hand in hand with what I was talking about, low quality leisure, and that is to do a social media detox. I feel like if you are at all trying to slow down your life, simplify your life, if you're trying to find more peace and rest, going on some sort of digital social media detox, I feel like is one of the quickest ways to instantly feel like you have more time, you have more mental space, you have just more peace and less anxiety in your life. If I'm ever feeling overwhelmed, I know that I'm just gonna take social media off my phone that week. I'm going to turn off my phone as much as I can, turn off my computer. I'm going to avoid screens as much as possible. And I think detoxes are a quick fix, but ultimately the goal is to really just incorporate less of that into your life. At least for me, I find that it's low quality. I'm assuming a lot of people feel that way. My fourth practical way to slow down is to incorporate more boundaries. And what I mean by that is specifically incorporating boundaries in your schedule. So the way I view my schedule is I try to first define my values. So what it is that I'm trying to accomplish, what my purpose is, how I want my time to be spent. And I try to do that separately and then look at my calendar and actually block off times where it says, here's how much time I want to dedicate to work, family, high quality leisure. And before I actually have ways to fill in that schedule or plans with friends, I already have days that are dedicated towards being social, days towards rest, health, etc. I find that for me, that is really helpful, and I would love to make a whole video on it because it can sound a little bit overwhelming when I'm talking about it, but I think for sake of this video, just having boundaries and objectively determining before you get asked or before an opportunity arises, how it is that you actually want your time to be reflected, what it is you want to spend time on, what it is you're trying to achieve in this season of your life. I think that can be really helpful. I feel like a lot of times we're very reactive with our schedules and we get asked to do things, so we just say yes and then we regret after the fact, then we're overwhelmed and we're stressed, and that is why I feel like boundaries are so helpful, because it's already been put in place and you're able to communicate to people very objectively and say, like, I would love to do this, but I'm already at capacity, so I'll let you know if something clears up and then I can incorporate it. But for now, I am booked full, and you have the freedom to know that, and other people do, and your family does. And I just think that can be so helpful and such a game changer. And so I am such a proponent of boundaries. I think they sometimes get a bad rep, or that you're somebody who's always saying no to things if you have boundaries, but it actually allows a lot of space to say yeses to things. It's just that those yeses are very meaningful yeses and they're very intentional. The next way I recommend slowing down is to do more things with your hands. I was specifically thinking around the house, such as gardening, cooking, doing crafts, DIY projects, just getting your hands dirty and physically engaging in that way. A quote that I heard that I really try to live by is, if you work with your mind, rest with your hands. I think a lot of us sit behind a computer all day long, and so I think it's so important that when we're resting, we're not using that same part of our mind or muscles, and that we're actually moving our bodies. It doesn't always have to be in a very physical way, but I think just engaging and resting in that way can be really meaningful, because it's using a completely different part of your energy and your mind. And so for me, I found that even if it means sometimes I'm a bit more physically exhausted, I find it's actually recharging and engaging a whole new part of my mind and body. So that could go the other way around. If you're on your feet all day long, maybe you're a nurse or a teacher and you are always on your feet, always being social, always talking to people, never behind a computer, then maybe that could go the other way around, where you really want to engage your mind and do more simplistic, stagnant things around the house and resting. But just something that I found is really helpful for me, so I thought I would share. My next suggestion for slowing down is decluttering. And I feel like in and of itself, that isn't the most enjoyable hobby per se. I know, at least for me, I don't get overly enthused to declutter, but I find that when I do declutter and really simplify my space physically, it truly simplifies my mental space. And it's just remarkable to see. The more I do it, the more I'm noticing it. And I think something I aspire and is a dream is that one day I can identify in the category of being a minimalist. I definitely want to lean more towards that way, but I'm on a journey of kind of unlearning a lot of habits I have, and I'm right now amidst doing a lot of decluttering, and I just find that it creates so much more, not only mental space, but even just in the home, I catch myself experiencing a lot of decision fatigue. It also just keeps the house a lot cleaner. I feel like I was spending so much of my free time organizing and cleaning, and once I kind of declutter, I have less to actually manage and less inventory to keep up with and to clean, and that's been so helpful. So I think decluttering is such a superpower that sometimes we underestimate, and I know it might be hard in the actual process of decluttering, but it is never something I regret. It always feels so amazing afterwards. So the next way to slow down is by implementing a Sabbath. And if you're you're unfamiliar with that concept, it's essentially just a day of rest. It's a day that you dedicate towards not doing work, and you really just allow your mind, your body, your spirit to fully rest. And this is something I've started implementing very imperfectly on a weekly basis, and it has been such a game changer because a lot of times I thought I was resting. I thought that Sundays were my rest days, but I noticed I actually wasn't truly resting. So again, having that boundary or constraint around my schedule one time per week is so helpful, and it really allows me to be so intentional with how I rest. And for me, that day is also such an important day for my spiritual health and dedicating time towards high quality leisure and providing space for that. And so for me, I feel like my Sabbaths are very full, but they're full of very restorative things, and they're not exhausting. They're ways that I can really reconnect with myself and my purpose and with God, and dedicating a day that is set aside to really just honor Him and be such an act of worship. I think it is just so powerful, and I love my Sabbaths so much. I look forward to them all week long. Okay, I believe we're on number 7, and that is to focus on rhythms versus routines. I do absolutely believe in the power of consistency and having routines in place, but I actually felt like my routines were stressing me out more than they were serving me. And so when I started switching that, where it felt more like a rhythm and something that provided space rather than restriction, that was super helpful. And so I feel like routines sometimes can be things that we have to check off our to-do list, versus a rhythm is really about setting intention to that time. So for example, my night rhythm isn't super regimented, but I know that I have 30 minutes to an hour before I go to bed dedicated towards just unwinding, getting ready. Every night it looks kind of different, but there is the consistency of the same time and the same intention of what that's for. And I just find that rhythms for me are really helpful, and they allow me to look forward to that time rather than feeling like I'm so exhausted and now I have to go do my skincare and this. And I think that can just be a helpful framework that we can use throughout our day. Number 9 is one of my personal favorites, and that is reading and journaling. Those are both just very practical ways. If you're looking for something that you can do right now after this video, you can pick up a book, you can pick up your journal, and I think those two things really force you to be so present. Journaling truly allows you to process what's on your mind currently, to even just release emotions. I know for me, the moment I start journaling, it's hard to stop because I realize, wow, I have all of these things that are stored in my head that I haven't been able to process or just get out, or it will even just allow me to enter into such a space of creativity, just getting excited towards the future, releasing and evaluating things from the past, and just being more intentional and being so aware of what it is that's actually running through my mind. And I find that I sleep better when I do that because I'm having a chance to process what's in my mind versus waiting until I hit the pillow and suddenly I have all of these thoughts flooding my mind. So I love journaling, and I feel like reading has a very similar effect where it forces you to just be present. It's such a fun, restorative way to spend your Sabbath, to spend time resting, to unwind at night. Okay, number 10 and our last and final way to slow down is to reconnect with your body physically. And my 2 favorite ways to do this are in yoga and then also intentional breathing. And I will also say, I feel like walks can also have a very similar effect. But for me, I have started doing morning yoga. I do it outside in our backyard, and the way it makes me feel and the way it alleviates tension, I feel like, especially because, like I shared, I am sitting behind the computer majority of my day, so there's just so much tension that I hold in my body, and I find that yoga just allows me to feel so much better and so much more re-energized. And so it's just something that I really look forward to starting my day with, because I really notice if I skip a day physically, everything just sits heavier in my body. So I just love that release. And for me, it's a great time to focus on breath work and really just be in tune with my breathing. It's just one of those things that seems so simple, but it is just so helpful in so many different areas So I just genuinely look forward to that every single day. Those are my 10 practical ways to slow down. Thank you guys so much for listening and making it through to the end of this video. If you enjoyed, please do subscribe. Let me know what you do to slow down in the comments. I would love to hear. And I truly hope that this video added value and inspired you just to be more intentional with your time and to prioritize slowing down. And I'm just so honored that you took the time to listen, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.